Why is weight so important? It really affects everything. It affects your power to weight ratio. So if you decrease your weight, your car is essentially more powerful. It's gonna accelerate better, it's gonna go faster, higher top speed. Your car is also gonna brake better. Your brakes, the same brake system, will actually have to do a lot less work. It's basically, it doesn't need to slow down as heavy as a vehicle. So they're not gonna overheat as fast, it's gonna brake harder. Your tires will actually work better, believe it or not. You don't have as heavy of a car relying on the same tire size and grip level that the tires have. With those same tires that you're running, you're gonna have more grip, car's gonna corner better, it's gonna brake better, accelerate better, everything. Less weight means your suspension doesn't have to work as hard. So those coilovers and control arms, all that, it's gonna put less stress on them, as well as it's gonna be able to balance a lot better. It's just overall gonna perform better. It's overall your suspension is just gonna perform that much better at that lower weight level. Coolest thing about weight is it really is a free mod up to a certain point. You can take it to such extremes, which we will talk about, but you can make a significant impact on your vehicle, especially if you have a newer car with a lot more of the safety features and creature comforts like powered heated seats and side airbags and airbags that come around the back seats. All that stuff really adds up weight-wise, and it's really easy to get rid of that stuff. But before we get too crazy, let's start with some of the free stuff. So keep in mind, some of these features and safety things are there for a reason, and so depending on what you decide to remove, you may have to replace it with something for your car to still be safe. So don't just go in and removing everything and driving this like empty shell. That's not gonna be safe. But there are a lot of things you can remove that don't impact safety at all. So the first one would be unnecessary interior stuff. So like your center console. Sometimes it's not gonna add up to a whole lot, but when you combine like your center console with like that rear deck that a lot of cars have that has a lot of plastic attached to it, and even sometimes part of the sound system, that can really add up as it continues to go. As well as even your back seat. Your back seat, if you don't plan on taking passengers in there anymore, I'm assuming if this is a drift car, you're probably not. So you can get rid of that back seat, get rid of those seat belt mechanisms. All that stuff really adds up. You'd be surprised if you take all that stuff out, put it in a big pile, put it on a scale, I think you'll be surprised by how much that actually weighs. The next ones that don't impact safety at all would be the sound deadening and the sound system. So sound deadening, that's the stuff you'll find kind of like under the carpet and even behind the door panels. That stuff really adds up, especially on these newer vehicles as they're attempting to make them quieter and more comfortable. They pile this stuff on, and that really adds up. The sound system is a great one, especially, again, in the newer cars. I know I keep saying that, but you'll get like a Bose sound system, which will have a subwoofer and amplifiers, and the crazier navigations and deck systems. All of that can really add up. And if you have a custom car system or a custom audio system in your car, you're really just screwing yourself over there. So take that out. It doesn't affect safety. It's a super free mod to get the weight down. Have you ever pulled up your trunk mat and looked at all that crap under there? You no longer need that for drifting, all right? That spare tire is gonna do you no good. Those jacks are really, do not use those at the track, please. So take all that stuff out. That's free weight, especially that spare tire, but even that adds up. So take all that junk out, get rid of that trunk liner. That's all useless weight, and it doesn't impact safety. Probably the last one I can think of before we get into stuff that affects safety would be the side windows, the regulators, and all that linkage. That really adds up, especially in a sedan. This is one thing you have to keep in mind. If you get rid of your side windows, it's gonna kind of suck in rain. But we've had a lot of cars where we've decided, you know what, it's worth it because they weigh a lot. It's nice to get rid of it. It also kind of makes it a little bit safer in a racing situation. You don't have glass right next to you that can explode all over you. So that's a little bit of a debatable one. I would also think about if you do like cut the doors and gut those, really think about having a roll cage with door bars because you're getting rid of that stock safety structure. So moving forward, kind of the last one that is free but does affect safety is your airbags. So I would not recommend doing airbags until you have a roll cage, seat, and a harness. Airbags are there, they're designed to stop you in the event of a crash, and the way that like stock seat belts and seats work is they do allow you to move, and then the airbag slows you down from getting hurt. So if you remove those airbags and don't put in any of these racing safety equipment, really creating an unsafe vehicle. The last one would be cutting weight out. This is one where I see it done improperly a lot, so I would really caution with this. When you cut structural parts of the car out, you can save a lot of weight, but you can also decrease the the car's structural integrity. So I really wouldn't do much of this until you have a roll cage in that's professionally built and the car is structurally good. Then you really can start looking at like that rear deck. That can all be cut out. There's a lot of weight savings there. Even under over fenders, depending on the vehicle, if it's aluminum or steel body, that can add up to some weight. Make sure you think about plugging those up real nice though, otherwise you're just gonna get tire and junk coming into the cabin. As well as like the rear trunk area, that's another great spot to save weight. But again, be careful with this one. Make sure you don't just go start cutting everything out without adding back some reinforcement. So weight is one of those things where it pretty much goes on forever. We're gonna get into all the paid ways of weight. Some of them are cheaper, some of them are very expensive. One of the biggest ones is going to lighter weight materials, right? So wet carbon fiber or fiberglass would be kind of the first two I would look at. So that would be your hood, trunk, doors. Roof isn't worth a whole lot. The thing that's nice about it though is it is up high. It's gonna be especially critical though if you had a stock sunroof or moonroof, because that whole motor system is heavy as heck. We had one of those on the GS300. We ended up converting it to a Roadster, but pulling that thing out, it was heavy. And that's way up high. You really want to get your weight down as low as possible and kind of centrally balanced. Carbon fiber roof may be an option if you have that big heavy sunroof. The other one would be fiberglass fenders, front and rear, either over fenders or full replacement. That's a great way to save some weight. Also add some styling, right? Bumpers, I wouldn't say you could save a whole lot. Sometimes on the newer vehicles though, they do have a lot of extra junk and like kind of stuff to enclose everything off, like your fender well liners, things like that. So going to a fiberglass bumper, you may be able to save a decent amount of weight there. That pretty much covers like carbon fiber. It gets even crazier and crazier though. You can go to like dry carbon and forged carbon, and they do get incrementally lighter. For a drift car, unless you're like at peak top pro level, I would not recommend spending money on that stuff. I would stick to regular wet carbon fiber and fiberglass. Spend your money elsewhere. Lexan Windows is another great one. As we mentioned before, windows weigh a lot. This is one where it can get fairly expensive, but we've been able to find some suppliers for Lexan Windows that aren't too bad. And there's a lot of weight savings there. That windshield is heavy as hell. If you ended up gutting your side windows and getting rid of all that, now you can put some Lexan side windows back in, bolt them in, make them removable. So if you wanna not run them in the summertime, no issues. I actually like running windows all the time personally. It allows you to not have to wear wrist straps in competition, which is kind of nice. It's one less thing kind of restricting you, as well as it provides some extra protection from debris and tires and things like that. And you can even run with your visor up, which is kind of cool in some situations. And you can still get the little rally sliders so you can get a little bit of air. I haven't personally noticed that it gets like overly crazy hot, so I think it's a great one, and they don't weigh anything at all. I definitely would check out Lexan Windows, probably ahead of some of the other things, just because of the significant weight savings that it will provide. So one we haven't touched on yet is Unsprung Weight. So unsprung weight is like your wheels and suspension. So it's everything not sprung by the coilovers. Some of these are also rotating weight. Any weight you can save there, such as lighter wheels, lighter brakes, lighter suspension components, is like way more impactful than anything that's sprung by the coilovers, especially if it's rotating. So wheels is a great one. Get rid of those heavy stock wheels, get some lightweight wheels. I know it's not as hot boy, we run a lot of heavy wheels. A lot of our cars have pretty decent horsepower. If I was building like a total drift missile, I would absolutely not run 3-piece wheels because I'm gonna be around 200 horsepower. I would get like the lightest, still cheap wheels I can find. So that's a great spot, and that impacts so much. Like wheels is huge. We've had luck with running around like a 10 to 12 gallon cell. That's usually been more than enough. They do make 20 gallon cells, but it really, at that point, especially for drifting, you're kind of carrying around unnecessary weight. We have tried, I think we had like a 6 or 8 gallon cell in the Genesis at one point. That really wasn't great because we'd have to fuel up pretty much every 2 or 3 laps. So I wouldn't recommend kind of going that crazy. There have been some of us that have tried it and kind of seen where it's at, but I think really that 10 to 12 gallon area is really the ideal spot. Your stock crash bars, this is like a big safety and weight one. So not only going to some nice bash bars can you save some weight sometimes, it's also gonna be a lot safer. So the crash bars are really only made for like that one hit. They're built to crush, whereas bash bars are made for racing type of scenarios and crashes. So that's one where it's a nice safety and weight thing. And bash bars a lot of times aren't really all that expensive. So really we could go on and on with the ways that you could save weight, especially in the paid area. Just really understand this is a super critical aspect of a race car and a drift car especially. Especially as your car gets more powerful, you have to start adding weight for certain things like your different coolers, bigger superchargers, maybe a different motor, different things like that. So then it gets even more critical to take some weight back out. So the cool thing is, it can be free up to a pretty high point. So I'd really recommend, if you're building a drift car or already have one, look at where you can save some weight. It's gonna help you in pretty much every aspect. You guys have been awesome about giving us some cool video ideas. So if you're new here and you have a great video idea, we'll probably do it. We do 3 videos a week, so it's easy to kind of throw those ideas in at any time. We'll see you guys in a couple days. Peace out.